folks. Today we're going to discuss the pandemic of incompetence that has erupted since the virus has come to light. First of all, it is like turning over a rock and you see all the bugs scramble for the darkness. And that is essentially what happened to these politicians. These politicians were picking their way through a pastoral existence, and they were just having their corruption and enjoying it and just loving life. And the people were none the wiser. However, when the pandemic arose, this exposed them for the frauds that they are. It meant they had to do something because the people were in a panic. And so they were naturally upset at being made to look incompetent and corrupt. And the first mistake they did was that, of course, they talked down to the people, treated the people like they were underlings, slaves, less than worthy. And because that's how the elites think about us. They think of us as ants under their boot. And of course, they panicked the people, and they made so many major blunders that I don't think a elementary school child would make if they were faced with this problem. Maybe we need kids to make the decisions for us instead of corrupt politicians. All right, and now, because they've been embarrassed, these politicians have been embarrassed at their own incompetence and corruption, and so now they're trying to redeem themselves in their own eyes by forcing everyone to take the concoction that they created. And they say it's good, even though there's very little evidence so far to support that, and perhaps some to the contrary. But this is about their ego and them saving face because they were embarrassed because they were unable to handle the pandemic correctly. And so the bottom line is, these politicians, mostly leftists, they do not admit they're wrong. They do not apologize. They do not seek advice or introspection. They just double down on embarrassment. Triple down and quadruple down and quintuple down. No matter how many times they've been proved wrong and idiots, they will just double down one more time. Basically, they are going to be right if it kills you. So it's a matter of their own ego that is causing them to try to enslave the people and be tyrannous. We don't want to take their medicine, so they want to enslave us. They want to tighten the iron grip. And like I said, that's why it's not about science. It's about them and their personal hurt feelings and embarrassment, and they want to punish the people for daring to complain about them and make fun of them. Okay, so the bottom line is, what can we do? What can we do to drain their power? The sheeple have been permitting these abuses. Basically, like I said, for the last several generations, people have just been going along through their lives and not being vigilant against the enemies of freedom. They've always passed that off to somebody else. Oh, someone else will take care of my freedom. Ha ha ha. That wasn't such a good idea. Don't hire a mercenary to take care of your freedom. That's pretty much essentially these politicians are mercenaries we're hiring to safeguard freedom. And they are going to sell us out, which they do regularly. So, bottom line is, people need to be on guard. We need to get involved and use all the means at our disposal. Includes all the means in the system, starting businesses, telling the truth. I guess some people believe that running for office, writing letters to the congressmen, senators, pressuring, marching, protesting, everything that's at our disposal, because a lot needs to be done, and every little bit helps. So, and essentially, I said, if we start our own cultural institutions, essentially we are eventually going to be seceded, and of course, the left has pretty much seceded from American society and American culture as it is. So we are in a strange circumstance where we have a couple cultures that have basically seceded from each other, but they're still working as a whole, and kind of we feel like we're in a slow motion train wreck. But that remains to be seen. Yeah, basically these politicians, they enjoy consolidating money and power because they get their kicks out of pulling people's strings, making them dance, so to speak. But the bottom line is, how long can these deeply despised and unpopular politicians stay in power? A lot of them have been elected, and even though they're part of the crooked machine, I mean, at the end of the day, you still need popular support to maintain control. I mean, if it gets to the point where only a couple of elites want to enslave everybody and everybody wants the elites out, I'm telling you, the elites are gone. Heave ho. They're not going to be able to stay in power. And we're just not to that point yet, I guess. Of course, the people are very dissatisfied with the elites, but I think we're gaining momentum in our pushback, but we're not quite there yet. And I said, throughout history, you see this. You have despots and eventually even their own bodyguards and support and security turn on them because they know that the people are more powerful than the unpopular despot. So it's only a matter of time before we get these despots out of office and out of power. The problem is we have let so many of them grow wild. Like I said, they're everywhere in all our Western governments. They're in these groups, of course, the EU, the UN, all these groups, because people just put their freedom on autopilot and said, here, you take care of my freedom. Ha ha. That's like telling the fox to guard the hen house. So I hope we stop doing that. And I was studying in my business course yesterday, and I was talking about good leaders, good business leaders, and how they treat their employees. And I'm like, this kind of reminds me of how it is with our countries right now. And these governments are crooked leaders and very bad bosses. And we need to stop tolerating bad boss. So there's just so many ways. Like I said, it causes people to get angry, to protest. The work doesn't get done. The whole country fractures and splits. And the whole point is that it's all about the boss's ego. It's all about the boss's ego. Boss doesn't care anything about the people. And not caring about the people is going to end him up in his own destruction. Because, see here, if he had been a nice person who listened to the people and tried to do what was good for everybody, the rich politicians could have a nice life. But as it is, they're just hurtling toward destruction because of their own greed. I guess that's what greed does to a person. Sometimes I wonder, are there really conspiracy theories going on, or is it just the sum total of multiple incompetences? I mean, the point is, we come out at the same place. Whether it's a bunch of independent groups being completely incompetent and greedy, or whether there's a conspiracy. I have an open mind on the subject. So, the left doesn't like to talk about that because they are just intellectual cowards. But I said the whole point is the good people have been tolerating crime. We should be activists. We should be investigating and making sure the legal branch of the country is doing the right thing, and which they have not been, and we need to get on them about that. I said we can't keep ignoring them applying the law unequally. There has to be a movement. And also, freedom is a collective. We need to work together. If I, as one person, say, I want to be free, that's not going to help me much if I have 99 sheeple in my town. The sheeple are going to say, we want Mama and Papa government to take care of us. Bah, bah. And I say, I want to be free, and they want to be sheeple. So we need to work together. Now, in closing, the pandemic of incompetence that the virus has exposed, I would like to put forth a couple of my ideas of what I would have done better than these corrupt politicians have done in handling this case. The first thing I would have done, respect the people. You talk to them like equals. You say, hey everyone, we have this virus, it's dangerous, we all need to exercise extreme caution and protect our loved ones, talk to them like equals. Number 2, stay calm. Absolutely ridiculous at times that Macron and the different cities, like, oh, we're locking down our cities. And then everyone just runs, and of course everybody gets all close together and spreads the disease and panics and wrecks and runs over people, and a pandemic of incompetence. Okay, number 3. Set up mini hospitals in every town. Each town should have had its own little mini field hospital center, because the way it was, everybody was going to the big hospitals with their COVID, and see, that's what happened. Everybody, they spread it far and wide, and they spread it to other people who had to go to the hospital for unrelated reasons, for health issues. So those were super spreaders. I would have segregated hospitals for each town. I would have had all goods available for pickup, drop-off, or drive-through. Another one was all the big stores wanted the people to go in and shop like regular. Absolute super spreader places. And I said that's probably where most of us caught it. Probably caught it at the grocery store or the dollar store. The ones that were in. So I think they should have had a greater emphasis on pickup or delivery or drive-through, instead of just letting everybody get together and touch all the same carts, and everyone's touching their masks, touching the groceries, putting them back. It was a disaster. All right, and of course, you need to split the medical care facilities of COVID versus non-COVID, because obviously life goes on. People are having other health issues other than COVID, so they should have been split, which I don't think really happened. And then I would have cuirass ventilators. Lots of the deaths were because of incorrect ventilator intubation, I believe. So the cuirass ventilators, you must always have patient comfort at priority. Give them the best chance to be comfortable, the best chance for survival. Cuirass ventilators are the ones that sort of wrap around your body. And I believe that would have prevented a lot of the deaths. And also, the nation should have humbled itself and had more national days of prayer and calls to prayer, because that's what's necessary. Obviously, when you're faced with something like a huge pandemic, you can't control everything. You can only mitigate the circumstances. And, I mean, they tried, but not so effectively. There was a lot of mistakes, a lot of incompetence, and I think there's a lot of bitterness, lack of trust in the government. The government has pretty much deep sixed itself. And now everybody wants something else, and the government wants to tighten the screws because the elites have been exposed as the little escaping worms under the rock that they are, the earwigs and parasites. And the only way they can cover up and try to hang on to their power and their money is by enslaving the people. And they can only do it if the sheeple allows them to do it. So we must stop being a sheeple and get busy and not allow them to swallow us up in a pandemic of incompetence. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. Let freedom ring.